That's an interesting one. The airbag system is actually in your seat in parts. You have airbags all over the Corvette. But what I have found is that the connector, how many people see an airbag light come on when you move your seat? There was a couple yesterday. You got you. It's possible that because of the close ground clearance. Oh, thanks. Appreciate that. I'm always losing. When the seat track is here, it's very, very low to the ground, low to the floor pan, and it's bolted. If the wiring harness and it's at the back gets pinched right between the floor and the seat track, it'll pull the wires. What you'll notice is that if you do this, all you do is raise your rear seat tilt. If your rear seat tilt goes up and the light goes off, you know it's right underneath your seat. It's a simple test. I see a lot of people do it, especially on the 05s, 06s, because as they wear in, the seat cushion will start to compress a little bit, and then you start to sit down on the electrical connector itself. That's something to think about as well. But very simply, raise the tilt on the back side of the seat, and the light may go out. Yeah, the rear. You know how you have your switch with the seat tilt? Just raise the back end of the seat up. And if it is a pinched wiring harness, like in this condition here, when you raise that, the tension is released, and the service airbag light should go out. So ideally, that's where I'd be looking. Yes. You ever go and you're ever in a parking lot, and here's your car, and you're going tight turns left or tight turns right, and you hear a squeak coming out of the back of the vehicle, or if you feel your tires being pushed straight, a lot of times that has to do with the fluid, especially 05 to early 08. The correct differential fluid part number is 88, 86, 26, 24. And that's called Dextron LS. It is a full synthetic fluid, and it works very well. Now, there is a big asterisk to this. ZR1, Z06. ZR1 and Z06 are equipped with a different type of clutch assembly called carbon. It's a carbon friction material. It's more durable than the conventional bronze that we have in the base models, and it grabs differently. If you're driving a ZR1 and you're driving a Z06, the chances of you eliminating the noise are slim to none, because you've got massive power coming through there. And the key is that it needs more pressure on those clutches. Okay? You're talking 638 horsepower, you're talking 505 horsepower, and you're going through two wheels that have to get planted to the ground. Okay? So, what ends up happening is that your left wheel has to spin at a different rate than the right wheel. Less if you're going to the left, and then this is going to spin less if you're going to the right. So they have to slip a little bit. You follow me? And if they don't slip progressively or quietly, you get this noise. Now, I've had a few ZR1s. I had a Z06 carbon. And when I did the fluid change, it helped. But it didn't fully eliminate it. And then at that point, they will call it a normal noise characteristic of the vehicle. Okay? It's not that it's going to wear out prematurely, because that's not it. It's just there's so much pressure on those clutches. And the actual pressure that's put on the clutches, and I'm going to draw it in actual size, is a washer like that. And each washer produces approximately 525 pounds per square inch of pressure. Now, if you've got that on a set of clutches, 2, 4, 5, 6, 6 clutches stacked together, you're putting that amount of pressure on those, they're not going to want to slip no matter what kind of lubrication you have. And it takes a hydraulic press for me, pressing down to get those clutches apart. So the pressure is enormous. So that's why on ZR1, Z06, you can probably help eliminate it, but the chances of completely having no noise at all, I wouldn't say you're going to. Okay? And that's the reason why. It's the pressure and the amount of strain put on these clutches that create the condition. You follow me?
Does the fluid wear out as far as time period?
Does the fluid wear out?
Like 12,000 miles. And it's an 07.
Does the fluid wear out over time? Well, I mean, 07 had the original older design fluid. My guess is it's a full synthetic fluid, but the friction modifier that's within that fluid, sometimes it does break down. It really depends on storage and how much you use it. That's kind of another reason to drive the vehicle more.
But this is the updated fluid.
This is the latest part number from General Motors, yes.
You don't have to put
No modifier, no additive. And I get a lot of questions about aftermarket fluids. I don't recommend aftermarket fluids because I've seen aftermarket fluids like Redline and Royal Purple and Mobil 1 Synthetic 2 create noises. So I really prefer this, and it actually costs about the same amount of money as those others. It's not really any more expensive. So that's the reason why I really kind of recommend this fluid because, I mean, most everyone that I've done to early 08, I haven't had a problem since. You know, so I think you're going to be okay with that. 2006 Corvette, is there a clutch adjustment? Actually, the adjustment is actually built in to the pressure plate. Now, clutches on Corvettes, there are two different designs. Your particular design, okay, flywheel, disc itself, this is your clutch disc, friction disc itself, and then your pressure plate. Okay? And then I raise this up because there are fingers here. Okay? And then your hydraulic cylinder pushes down on that to release your clutch disc. Okay? Now, in this pressure plate, there is actually a stepped adjustment with teeth in it. Okay? So as you push down on the clutch, the little engagement ball will move down depending on the wear on your clutch disc. Okay? So as you push down, if there's a little plate, the step tooth of the engagement ball will move down. And that'll give you a more consistent play. Now, the actual measurement is 1 to 2 inches off the floor. That's when you lift up on the clutch, you want to see 1 to 2 inches before it starts to engage. And it starts moving you forward. Is that about what you have? Grabs higher? So it grabs up probably. So that means that this adjustment is probably all down to its end. Because these clutch discs are only 3/8 of an inch or 0.375 in thickness. Okay? So depending on how it's driven, you know, you may need one. But does it slip? Yeah. Does it slip? So if it doesn't slip, I continue to drive it. Because you'll notice it start to slip before it actually leaves you stranded. You'll notice it. Yep. Yep, grabs higher. Grabs higher. Yeah. Now, do you change your clutch fluid? Okay, clutch fluid is very important. Okay, General Motors recommends clutch fluid be changed every 2 years, 24,000 miles. Okay? And DOT4 is something that's necessary. Now this is your slave cylinder. This is your clutch hydraulic slave cylinder. You can see the clear reservoir up top, and you got the cap on it. Okay? You can look to see, and as long as it's between the minimum and the max mark, see the marks? You'll be fine. Okay, you don't have to open it, just shine a flashlight through the side of it and you'll see your fluid level. But General Motors recommends you change your clutch fluid every 2 years, 24,000. Okay, so if you don't do it, it's probably time to get it done. Okay, that can also help your ease of engagement. Because remember, clutch fluid is a lubricant. It lubricates the seals here in the master cylinder and also lubricates the concentric slave down at your clutch. This part right here is what engages your clutch, okay? And it pushes it to help release it. So if you change the fluid, it's possible your clutch effort can go down a little. Okay, so I certainly would try that. The downside is they will have to remove the exhaust H pipe, and they will have to remove the tunnel plate to get up to it, because it's a 9mm bleeder screw, and you need to bleed it completely. The key thing is what I recommend is DOT4 brake fluid. That's General Motors' recommendation. I use the blue stuff. ATE Super Blue DOT4, because that way I know when I flushed all the old stuff out. Being it's blue, I see the color, I know it's flushed out clean. And then I usually do the brakes at the same time. But it's certainly something to do. I would strongly recommend that.